Hey, this is Donny from Aether and Cradle Filth, and you're watching RichardMetalFan.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Richard Metal Fan Interviews. This is episode number 87. And today's guest, we're talking with my man, Donny Burbage. He is the guitarist for the band Aether and also plays guitar or recently joined a new kind of like small little band called Cradle of Filth. Today we're going to be talking about what got him into metal, pretty much what made him want to play guitar, pretty much starting up Aether and also joining Cradle of Filth, and much more. So, without further ado, let's go talk to Donny. So what's up, guys? I'm here with Donny Burbage from Aether and a little smaller band called Cradle of Filth. So how are you doing today, Donny?
Very small band. I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I just finished a guitar lesson. I'm getting over like a little bit of a cold. Actually, I don't know. It was like I think it was more of like a sinus infection because I didn't really feel sick, but like I just had like crustiness in my nose, and so if you hear me kind of like clear my throat or cough a little bit, that's what that is. Yeah.
That's all good. Good. So how was your Thanksgiving?
It was really good, man. I spent some time with my nana. She lives about 6 hours drive from me, so I kind of have every year driven 6 hours to go see her and help her clean out her gutters.
Oh, no.
And and then she makes this like massive meal that's just way too much food for like me and her.
Yeah. I know. No, my girlfriend actually came and visited me. She lives like 3 hours, like all the way near like Augusta. Well, she's technically lives in South Carolina, but she lives like 4 minutes like from like the border.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
So she came and visited me this weekend, so we were hanging. And so basically, what I wanted to talk about is like your journey as an artist from where you started to now. But I'm always curious before we go into that, or like the first bands that got you into metal, what made you want to start playing guitar?
It wasn't bands actually. It was I I was bored when I was a kid because I think I'd beaten like Ocarina of Time like too many times and stuff like that, and
Wow.
like yeah, like seriously, like I had the Water Temple memorized. Okay, that's how much I played this game as a kid, and I was pretty bored. I was like, I'm kind of over this. Um, so I kind of like had this acoustic guitar that my mom bought me when I was like 6 years old, and I hated it. I hated guitar, and I just kind of pulled it out and started messing with it and trying to figure out how to play like melody lines from video games and stuff like that. And that's kind of like what got me started into guitar. But in terms of like playing metal, I was really into skateboarding. And so there was like this skate video called Welcome to Hell by Toy Machine. They had
Yeah.
Jamie Thomas just hitting these like big rails and stuff, and like just massive grinds, massive gaps he's just hitting. And it was playing the song Hallowed Be Thy Name by Iron Maiden.
Favorite band?
And yeah. So that's actually what made me want to play metal, because I remember hearing that guitar riff and just going like, wow, that's really cool. I didn't know you could play guitar like that. Um, like that's awesome sounding. My whole life, my mom always listened to a lot of like funk and Motown music and country and like 80s pop. But
Yeah.
then I told her I liked this song. It was cool. And she's like, oh, that's Iron Maiden. She's like, I have the 33. And she goes up in the attic and pulls out the vinyl and just like plays it. And I was like, get out of here, dude. No way. So my mom was like a secret metalhead all along. But that's actually what made me want to play guitar, like more kind of like seriously. I kind of always dabbled with it at that age, but that's when I heard. I was like, wow, I really want to do this. I was like 15, maybe 16 when I first heard that, I think.
Yeah, and Iron Maiden, of course, are my favorite band. I don't know if you see in the background. I got my parents got me like a bootleg blanket, but it looks pretty awesome. I'll have to like
Oh,
show you that
cool.
later.
Oh, yeah, I see it actually. Yeah. The blanket, that looks awesome. My sister one time made me like a clock out of like an album, like the sleeve, I guess, for the vinyl. But it's pretty cool. It was a really cool gift she gave me one year.
Yeah. And so, were you in any band? Tell me about like your first bands before eventually joining Aether. I'd love to hear like the in depth from like where you started up until joining Aether.
So I was one of those people that didn't think they were good enough to play in a band for a long time. And I played guitar when I was 13. The first band I joined, I think I was 18. Um, but I was an adamant person of like learning the guitar on my own. Like I literally studied so much guitar on my own. I studied music theory, stuff like that. I did take 4 lessons from this person. I had I worked this like place when I used to live in Pensacola, Florida, and I was 16 years old. And my first job ever was I was a busser at this like really fancy restaurant. I had to wear like a bow tie and all kinds of stuff, right? Hair slicked back, look really presentable and nice, clean
Uh-huh.
shaven, the whole nine.
Wow.
And I was talking about like music theory, like trying to learn it because I remember like people on this forum talking about it. And this forum was really cool. Like people would like post music they wrote in these like battles, and it was called Guitar War. And you would like literally have like one person post a song here, another person would post a song. No one had any idea who it was, and then those two songs would become pop out, and you could click the MP3s, download them, listen to them, and you would vote which one was the winner underneath certain criteria, like which the best song, which one's the best shredding, which one has the best use of sweep picking or certain techniques like that. It was really, really cool, right? It was a really good way to kind of like build your chops up, and I didn't realize that, and I just kind of like got into doing that. And this, I was talking about music theory, and the boss's wife overheard me, and she bought me like 4 lessons with this guy named Chip Searcy out of Mobile, Alabama. And so I would drive an hour to go take these lessons with him. I never get what she said. Actually, she said I told her it was too much to buy me lessons. I was like, that's too much money. It's like, not like, you can't do that. And she was like, do you want to? I'll never forget. She said to me, she says, do you want to be a rock star or do you want to be a busser for the rest of your life?
Wow.
Like, yeah, wild, right? So the only 4 lessons I ever had was with that guy until I went to university. But I learned so much. I knew a lot about how to play the guitar. I was a really good guitar player. I just didn't think I was good enough to be in a band, but I was actually good enough. I had this kind of like weird, I guess, almost imposter syndrome at that time, at that age for that. But the first band I ever joined, I was 18 years old. I got into it because I was playing at this music store, and one of the dudes came up and just like cranked the amp for some reason, like one of the employees, right? Because I think what he heard me doing, he thought was cool, and I was just kind of like noodling and then just making weird sound effects on the guitar and stuff. It's something I've always been kind of like obsessed with. It's just like making weird sounds on the guitar, and yeah, someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, I'm trying to put together this band. Do you want to be in this band?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like my age also, so I was like, "That's cool." And my first band was called Under the Red Flag, and it was like, yeah, well, so it was like about, I don't want to say it was like a pirate metal band, because like that was what the theme was. Like it was like the red flag being flown by pirate ships, because like a lot of people didn't know that like
in before Ailstorm.
actually this might have been 2005. So like it wasn't even called Ailstorm then, I think.
Yeah.
It was called Battle something, whatever. So I can't remember the original name of Ailstorm, but
Yeah.
and before all that. And but it was weird because the music sounded like southern metal, kind of like almost like a like Maylene and the Sons of Disaster, like kind of like in that vein, but like I don't know how to explain it other than it was like it actually, I think the riffs were really, really good. I think they were insanely good for like how old I was. And like me and my friend Pat, we kind of like wrote a lot of the stuff, and I had another friend named Derek Bosker who wrote a bunch of stuff, and we had this guy named Jason who wrote some keyboard parts. And I was always obsessed with like orchestral elements in music anyway, so I tried to incorporate that in that music. It was like a weird amalgamation of like kind of like southern metal sounding riffage, where it just plays like the flat 5, and it's like like the blues scale, riff around that. It just sounds kind of like mean. I guess the best way to put it would be like Lamb of God. Like it sounded like Lamb of God.
Nice.
But yeah, it was just like, that was my first band. It was called Under the Red Flag. I was 18 years old. We played like these kind of like cool Lamb of God-ish sounding riffs, but like there was like this like pirate theme to the band. No one dressed up like pirates. That was just like the imagery. We had like a red flag with like the Jolly Roger on it, because North Carolina, where I'm from, is well known for a lot of pirates and stuff like that. A lot of pirates used to like harbor in like Bath, North Carolina, which is like a little small town. I used to live there when I was a kid, and like Blackbeard was there and stuff like that. It's stuff you read all about when you're growing up in school in North Carolina. So, just one of those weird things that like we're able to just lead into that, So yeah, that was my first band. It was a kind of like a southern metal sounding band.
All right. And was there any other bands before that, after that, or?
No, no, not at all. No, and we actually even came out with like 2 EPs. Actually, we recorded ourselves. We came out with 2 EPs. I don't have them anymore. I think someone does, but
To upload it to YouTube or something.
yeah, I'll have to find it. If I bet you my friend, I bet you Derek still has it. Derek is like the record keeper of everything that we did when we were kids, and but yeah, like it was really 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 cool. Some of my old friends, they still talk about it all the time, and I thought it was really good. The solos, I remember like listening back to them, like there's like one YouTube video I think of me like playing one of the solos, like I'm recording it, and I messed up at the end. But I'm like, wow, that is a ripping solo, and I was like 18 years old. And I was like, holy hell, dude! Like, I forgot. Like, I never thought I was like good enough, but like I was actually like pretty good at the guitar, and I just kind of like never thought I was good enough to be in a band. But there's video evidence that says, nah, you were good enough. You just got to get out of your head sometimes like that. But yeah, that's my first band. It was called Under the Red Flag. It was just a local band that I played in.
Yeah. And how long were you all together?
Oh gosh, man, like maybe like 3 years, 2 or 3 years. That's about it, I think.
Okay. And so
and then,
yeah, you were saying.
oh no, yeah, I was saying, yeah, and then I went off to college and stuff after that, and I didn't play in a band for another couple years.
Yeah. So you didn't play in any until like joining up with Aether Realm?
No, I had another band called Parallels that I played in. There was like a stint where like I kind of like jammed with this other band also for a bit, and I helped write some songs, but like I don't remember what it was called. It was very short lived. That was with my friend Khalil, my friend Gerald, and it was kind of like proggy pop punk.
Wow.
And then I would like sub in for other people for like blues bands and stuff like that, but I didn't like play in those bands. You're told the set list and you just jump in and play. And I was always good at improvising and learning things really fast, so that's just something I always did. I just would hop in and play with people all the time and like blues gigs, stuff like that. Did the same thing for like a country gig one time for like some dude's like backyard 4th of July. It was like a cover band, did a lot of stuff. I learned it all in like maybe like 2 or 3 days. I think it was like 4 hours of music. It was fucking maddening. Yeah, I played in a band called Parallels. That was out of Greenville, North Carolina area. Well, originally it was out of Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and then we were a Virginia Beach band because that was the only place to play if you lived in Elizabeth City was Virginia Beach. And so I would play up there. Had a bunch of friends I made up in that area. That was a beatdown band. That was kind of like a like a weird combination of like gent rhythms with like hardcore and beatdown vibes to it. So I one time played in a hardcore band where everyone moshes, and now I play in bands where people don't like that kind of moshing. They like push pits instead, and they used to make fun of people like doing like the pickup change and stuff like that. I used to play in bands like that. I used to do that. I used to play bands and like people just hardcore dance everywhere and stuff like that, and it was fun. I loved it. The energy was great. It was awesome. I didn't really get to play solos, but it was fun. I loved it. The rhythms were cool because we kind of like had complicated rhythmic stuff because we liked complicated rhythmic genty stuff back then. That was actually before Periphery, but I'm not gonna say that I like started that or anything, because like obviously I was listening to Bulb, which was Misha had this like MySpace page back in the day, and it was called Bulb, and he just wrote music like that, and I was like, that's sick. And that's actually where I got those ideas was from that kind of stuff. And then my friend Richard wrote a lot of that music. Actually, I can't really say that I wrote much of that because my friend Richard Tynan wrote a lot of that music, and he was amazing songwriter who now is just a computer programmer. But amazing drummer, absolutely amazing songwriter too. He was amazing, did all that stuff. I had a friend John who played in that band with me. My friend Abe played in that band with me. So my friend Nick Cross, he played in that band with me. And like Nick Cross is doing like a really cool band now and stuff. But yeah, so I played in a band called Parallels. You can actually find that on YouTube. I think you have to type in Parallels NC in the search engine to find it. And but it's not the song Parallels by Who did that? Unearth? Is that who's that? Who did that? I can't remember now.
Parallels. I think it was As I Lay Dying. Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I think it
they have
is
a
As I Lay
song.
Dying, isn't
There's
it?
a song called Lifelines. From the Take
Yeah,
This to
yeah, that would
Heart
be it.
tour.
Lifelines. There's a song called Harvested. The song Harvested is the best one, I think. There's one called Misguided. They have different vocalists in Harvested and Misguided. But yeah, there's actual YouTube footage of baby Donny up there, very short hair, short beard Donny.
Wow.
Yeah, that does exist. You can actually go look at that, and you can laugh, have a good laugh if you want. It's not bad. It was recorded by Jamie Thomas, who does like all the Between the Beard and Me stuff, and he's from North Carolina also. So
Cool. And so, how did you end up joining Aether? Because it said on Metal Archives you joined in 2014. So, how did you get to know like Jake and the rest of the guys?
So Jake and the rest of the guys lived near me. We all lived in Greenville, North Carolina, and I moved to Greenville, North Carolina, and Parallels became kind of like a Greenville-based band for a little while. And we played a lot of shows at this place called the Tipsy Teapot, and this is like a very small coffee shop. Actually, okay, it's a bookstore. And it's weird because like imagine you have this building that's separated with this like kind of like glass wall. On this side is a bookstore that also has like a deli. And on this other side is an actual bar with a stage, but it's very narrow and it's just like, you know, PA on a stick. Like basically it's like whatever you would use at like your home to practice vocals and stuff like that with your band, that kind of PA, that was the PA. All right, that's what we had. We had PA on a stick. All right, and we would, yeah, like literally, yeah. All you could do is put vocals through it. You couldn't put anything else through it at all. There was nothing you could do. So like, it's just like the equivalent of having like a house show, but it was at this bar. It was called Tipsy Teapot. It was in Greenville, North Carolina. I played there a bunch of times. There was the Spazatorium. This guy named Jeff Blinder had like a lot of places that are. You would have like a Spaz Fest, like which is like a festival that you have for like local music, stuff like that. There was a lot of like local bands and local music, but there wasn't a lot of places for us to play. So we always played in garages or house shows. There was one called the Rat and Slug House. It's like all the punk shows were there. Tipsy Teapot, all the metal shows and punk shows were there also. Spazatorium kind of shut down for a while. Earlier on, years before I moved there, Greenville was a better like scene for music, but it died down really badly when I was there, and we didn't really have anywhere to play. So I played in Parallels. We played at the Tipsy Teapot. Aether played at the Tipsy Teapot. Jack was in the band back then. Anyway, Parallels starts to kind of fizzle, right? Everyone just kind of like starts, you know, doing their own things and moving on and stuff like that. I didn't have any band to play in or anything like that, and I knew I wanted to play music and I wanted to play in a band. I liked it, you know. So I asked if any bass players were available because my friend Nick couldn't play bass for me anymore. He was too busy with the other band anyway. So I was like, yeah, let me get an actual bass player. Nick is an actual bass player. Don't get me wrong. He's a fantastic bass player. He's an even better vocalist though. But I basically put out this like little thing online. It's like, hey, you know, any bass players available? Jake from Aether messages me back. He's like, hey, actually, I need a guitar player. Do you want to play guitar in Aether? And Nick was my roommate, and I asked him, I was like, Nick, I don't know if I was like, should I do that, man? I don't know. It's not really my style anymore, I guess. And Nick was like, dude, when was the last time you played a guitar solo or a lead? I was like, man, I don't know. It's been forever. He's like, yeah, you'll get to do it in this band. Go do it. So I learned how to play like actually I learned how to play one Aether song. It was the Chariot. It was already written. It wasn't recorded and released yet. And I had to learn that in a week, and we shot a music video. And so if you watch the music video for the Chariot, I am not playing the solo that is recorded because I recorded a different solo than what I played in the video because I hadn't written it yet.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't match up at all with what my hands are doing. But for some reason, the person decided to just really focus on that. And I'm like, oh, God, this is awful.
Wow. Just playing a different solo over another different solo.
Yeah. Well, the solo wasn't recorded, actually. The song was kind of recorded, but that solo wasn't recorded yet. There wasn't anything there. It was just rhythm guitars there.
Oh, so you're just
in the recording.
Playing an invisible solo.
Yeah, and we didn't know what we were doing at the time. So we kind of like, we actually played this song live in front of people. Like in the music video, like everyone's like pumped and stuff like that. We actually played the song. Like we actually were playing it live. Like when we played this, we actually had amps loud ripping. We actually played this, and we had this awful click track just going boop, 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 through the PA the whole fucking time.
Wow.
And so everyone in the audience is like trying to have a good time, and I guess some were, but like there's this obnoxious click track just pumping through the PA the whole time. We're in our friend Josh Grady's house, which we used to call the Bottle Cap House. Also, it's another place that we would play house shows and shit. I mean, like I said, there was nowhere for us to play and shit, so we kind of made a music video that was like we're just busting through someone's house party. That's it, you know. But house parties like that were a normal thing in Greenville. Greenville was a pretty chaotic party city back in the day.
Yeah, and tell me about like Tarot, your first album with the band. When you like were joining the band, did you like listen to also the Odin Will Result Provide EP and the debut full length one chosen by the gods to prepare?
No, I actually so I had to learn how to play all those songs, and I was given tabs, but the tabs were awful. They were really, really bad. They had like really bad like fingerings, and not all the notes were correct also. So I had to learn a lot of it by ear. But I actually didn't even Jake never gave me an Odin Will Provide or anything. I didn't get any of that actually. I think it was like one full year before I even got like my hands on a CD to practice with. So I was just practicing on YouTube. I would just listen to the song on YouTube and just practice it. That's how I did it, you know. And I had to do it by ear.
Yeah.
But I did have tabs that kind of helped me a little bit, but like some of it was like not very good, some of it was wrong. But yeah. So no. Tarot had already been being worked on when I joined. Like the song The Sun, the Moon, the Star. A lot of things that I brought to Tarot were like incorporating like different genres into the music. Like The Devil is a good example. Like that whole kind of like Latin American sounding bit. I'm a massive fan of this guy Antonio Laurel, who's this Venezuelan guitar player, and he is just amazing. And I love the way he plays guitar, and I like that style a lot. So I always try to. I think that always blends with metal so well too. Is like these kind of like Latin American sounding guitar vibes, like flamenco type sounding music, stuff like that. It always blends really, really well with metal. They're both in like really kind of dark minor keys. You know, they're meant to invoke an emotion. I think they just do I think they play very nicely together. So I did that in The Devil, you know, solo stuff like that. There's like breakdown parts that I wrote, stuff like that. You know, some like melodic phrases here and there. I think there's some like riffs I sent to Jake that got morphed into other things. Yeah, you know, just stuff like that. Like it's just like, so that's pretty much all the stuff I did on Tarot was a lot of like just like extra things to bring to the table of what was already there. The whole album wasn't done yet, you know what I'm saying? It still took us a long time to work on. I remember countlessly coming up to this house before I lived in this house I'm in, going to Heinrich's room and just sitting there all day long and just like coming up with ideas, working on stuff. I think like the Tower, we worked a lot on the Tower. I remember that one. I remember doing that one a lot. So
yeah, and what do you remember the first tour you did with Aether right after you joined, or did you just play like locally?
Well, I played locally a lot, and then Aether had always done DIY tours, and I didn't do a DIY tour with Aether ever. Actually, I didn't really do one. I was supposed to do one, but I couldn't get off of work, so I missed it. And it was with us and Wilder Run, and it was a DIY tour. 2 weeks, and I only played like 2 shows that were in North Carolina. That was it. And then they went off and did like, you know, like kind of like mostly East Coast only and stuff like that. And I didn't get to do that one. The first tour I ever did with Aether was Aether. It was okay. So here's what it was: Ailstorm, Necrogoblicon, Aether.
Hell of a bill. Yeah,
that's the first tour I ever did. Was that one?
Yeah, was that 2018, 19 or something?
2016.
Oh, 16.
2016.
So this was before Tarot.
Yeah, Tarot wasn't even released yet. Yeah, it wasn't even released. We played like, God, what songs did we play off of it? We did play a couple songs off of it though, but it wasn't even out yet. We were still working on it. We played We played Tarot. Actually, we played the song Tarot itself. Actually, I think that was it. Everything else was like, oh no, actually, we also played the intro to the Sun, the Moon, the Star, and there's like in the Sun, the Moon, the Star, there's like this kind of like Game Boy sounding bit, right? Jake had written that and gave the MIDI to Eric W. Brown from Necrogoblicon. He's the drummer of Necrogoblicon, and he also writes music for video games, and he's kind of like also well known as Rainbow Dragon Eyes, which is like a bitcore kind of band. It's like 8-bit metal. I don't know how to explain that, but
Nintendo
if you haven't heard it, let's do it. It fucking rules. And or go play the video game The Messenger, which he wrote the music for, which is also amazing. It's a credible game.
All right. And then you played for a little bit, but also kind of switched topics. Like I said on Metal Archives, you played with did live stuff for Veil of Noth in like 2020. So I'm guessing that was like the beginning of 2020 before COVID hit.
It was actually right before COVID hit. It was our last 2 shows were canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how'd you get to play with them live?
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, it was really cool. It was really good. I wanted to finish up the thing about Eric. Eric actually wrote on the bus the intro to The Sun and the Star. It's like he was on like the bus with Ailstorm and Gloryhammer, and he actually put it in his Game Boy and then recorded it and sent it to us. Like the beginning of that song is actually something that was finished on that 2016 tour with Eric Brown. But yeah, so let's see. And then I played with Veil of Noth in 2020. So, but that was me just filling in on the guitar.
Yeah. So I'm guessing in 2020, right when COVID hit, I guess you started writing with Aether Realm for Redneck Vikings in Hell. Tell me about that, because honestly, this was like my introduction to you guys, and I've been a fan of Aether Realm since.
So that album started with a couple ideas off of the tour in 2016. There was an idea that Jake had that ended up becoming the song Hunger. And I remember him working on it. Like when it was my turn to drive, he would kind of like plug it in to the stereo and just kind of work on it a little bit, or like put his headphones on and sit and you have to remember this tour that we did in 2016, we were in a Toyota 4Runner pulling a U-Haul truck with our gear in it. It was the most uncomfortable lap around the US I've ever done in my life.
Damn.
It was rough, and there was no sleep done because we have to basically be on the schedule of a tour bus, you know what I'm saying? And then 2017 we did an EU tour with Ailstorm, and we wrote some more songs. Actually, we came up with the idea of like doing Redneck Vikings from Hell. Actually, I think the idea for Redneck Vikings from Hell predates all this.
Wow.
It was a stupid idea. It was a stupid, silly idea that our friend Nathaniel and Jake kind of like jokingly made one time, I think. And it was just like a really silly, like, make fun of ourselves for being from North Carolina because of the fact that like there is the style that Aether Realm's known for is like this kind of like melodic death metal Finnish kind of vibe to it, you know, like it's very like Winter Sun. You can hear the inspiration, stuff like that. We wear our inspirations on our sleeves. But that came out in 2020, so that actually got finished. Let's see, I finished recording that album and sending everything off right before right before the end of December. I remember like we had to hand the stuff, all the files and audio stuff to Kyle, our engineer, and then the next day we had to catch a flight to go to Florida so we can hop on the boat to go play 70,000 Tons of Metal. And then we played 70,000 Tons of Metal. And as soon as I got off that boat, I had to practice every day for 3 weeks to learn the Veil of Noth set. And so I had to learn the Veil of Noth set in 3 weeks, which was really, really tough to do, honestly. Luckily, I had tabs. But yeah, it was really tough. It was really, really hard. But so yeah, we did that tour I did that tour with Veil of Noth, playing for them 2020. It was February. And at the end of February, we had a couple dates in March that got canceled because that's when COVID was hitting the West Coast really, really bad. It hit Seattle first really bad, and then it kind of just like started hitting everything really bad. California dates got canceled. I was stranded in Vegas. I had to basically like fly out of Vegas back home. So yeah, it was kind of a rough time there.
And then tell me about like making Redneck Vikings from Hell. Did you feel like more comfortable now that you're actually in the band? Did you write a lot more than on Terra
I definitely did. Yeah. Well, I wrote a lot. I mean, I wrote some stuff on Terra as well, but like I wrote a lot of stuff also on Redneck Vikings from Hell, and I did a lot of the tracking on Redneck Vikings from Hell. Also, whereas like the writing stuff like that, like our writing process was different for Redneck Vikings from Hell than it was from Terra. Like Terra was like we're in the studio. I didn't. There was some parts in Terra where I didn't even know I had a solo, and I'm in the studio, and Jake goes, "Oh, I want you to write a solo here." So I just write it on the spot real fast, and that happened a lot in Terra. Um, Redneck Vikings from Hell, we recorded everything at home, right here in front of our computers. Recorded all the guitars. We didn't record the drums. Obviously, we recorded the drums at Kyle's place because he had the space to do it. But yeah, we literally recorded like all the guitars ourselves, and then we just sent Kyle DIs. And I moved to Asheville here, where I live now in Asheville, North Carolina, just to work on that album. So I quit my day job. I quit everything. I just worked on that album. That's all I did. That was my job. Was just to work on the album.
Yeah, but and then of course COVID died down a little bit, and then you went on tour again. I remember the first time I saw you throw on was last September last year on the tour with Unleash the Archers. Tell me about that. And I remember that show. I also actually interviewed Jake at that show, and he's fucking hilarious. I remember he actually like promoted like Aether socks. So he like drew the logo on like a pair of
Yeah.
socks. He's hilarious.
Oh yeah, dude. We ran out of merch constantly on that tour. It was crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like every time I turn around, we were out of merchandise. It was insane. We did not expect everyone to want to buy that much merch immediately like that. It was absolutely insane. I think everyone just really wanted to like show their support for the bands. It had been 2 years since they've seen a fucking live show. You know what I'm saying? So it was like everyone was just like really just wanted to help out as much. They wanted to they came with like pockets full of cash trying to buy everything up because I think they knew that really helped us a lot, you know. I think and it really did. The most money I've ever made on tour was on that tour actually.
That's insane. Saying pretty much on that tour, I'd pretty much been a fan of you guys since. I pretty much love everything that you put out.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah, like the you know, like Redneck Vikings from Hell is funny because like you know like I said like I always bring like the kind of like weird genre mixture and stuff like that, and I got to kind of like do that with like bluegrass and you know just kind of like do that, and it was like a silly idea that I think actually kind of like worked out really well for that song. I think a lot of people were a little like confused by it at first because they're like, what is a banjo doing in metal and stuff like that? Like I mean we're hardly the first band to ever do that. Like Insephirum has a song that has banjo in it, but
yeah.
you know like I think it's just because it leans more on like the goofy side of it. But I was hoping people would understand that song is meant to be really silly and really goofy because I put all these like weird sound effects in it. Like I added like you know like a whip cracking sound and like eagles and like rattlesnakes rattling stuff like that. Anything I could think of just to make it as like silly sounding as possible. You know, there's even a gunshot in the song. You know, like it's just like absolutely goofy.
Okay, all right, and then of course, like this year, you've actually really had joined Cradle of Filth, one of my all-time favorite bands. So, how did you end up hooking up with Danny Filth and the guys?
Danny didn't hire me. It was their management who hired me.
Yeah.
But basically, I've done better by making friends than I ever have by making enemies. That's my rule. Everywhere I go, I try to make friends everywhere I go. I try to, you know, I don't even really try. It's just, I just think it's just a nice thing to do. Just be nice to people, be friendly. People remember you. That's kind of it. That's all you have to do. And I've always done better by just being that way. But
yeah.
So originally what happened, this is really funny. Zoe was like, oh, I know a guitar player. And she calls Awesome Sierra. Awesome played in Winter Sun, right?
Yeah, great guitarist.
Yeah, he's amazing, absolutely amazing. And I mean, better than I am, you know. And I don't think he could make it, so he called. I don't remember why, but I think I don't think he could do it. Like probably like a visa or something. Like, who fucking knows? You know, it's like hard to get those things and shit like that.
Yeah.
Especially to play the U.S. You know, it's like it's really tough. And it's twice as expensive as it used to be. But he calls up, ironically, Heinrich, my other guitar player in Aether Realm, and then he calls Grant from Unleashed Archers. And Heinrich was like, yeah, I don't know if I could do it. You know, he's like, I have work stuff. He's like, you know, I wouldn't be able to take off of work that much. And then, you know, because you'd have to take off for a whole month to practice and then do the month of tour. It's actually 6 weeks of touring too, you know?
Right.
And that's the problem because like it's on such short notice, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like we need someone now, you know. So yeah, basically Grant calls me, and I'm like on this like little like trip driving my Nana across the country because my Nana's never seen the U.S. And I was like, I'll drive you across the country. Don't worry about it, Nana. I've done it like 20 times. No big deal, And so we went out to Vegas, me and my Nana, and then we drove back and stuff like that. And I'm on this road, and like I get a call, and it's Grant from Unleashed Archers. He's like, "Hey Donny, dude, do you wanna do this Cradle Filth tour?" And at the time, I thought he meant to guitar tech it because I'm also a guitar tech, and I was actually supposed to go on this Hypocrisy tour and guitar tech for Hypocrisy. I was like, "Yeah, dude, Graham, sorry, man, I got this thing I got to do with Hypocrisy. I'm a tech already for those dates, but I appreciate it, man." And I was like, he's like, "Oh yeah, okay." And I was like, "Wait, is this the play, or is this the tech?" He goes, "No, it's the play." I was like, "Yeah, hang on, dude. I gotta make a call real fast." So I call my tour manager for the Hypocrisy tour. I was like, "Dude, you're gonna fucking hate me, but I just got offered to play this tour for Cradle of Filth. I'm gonna see if I can take it." And he's like, "All right, let me know." And so I call. So I tell Grant, "Yeah, dude, like, send them my info. Here's my email, phone number." Their manager, Dez, calls me, and he's like, "Hey, man, do you think you can learn the songs and stuff like that?" I was like, "Yeah, I can learn these songs in time." And in my mind, I was thinking, I learned how to play Veil of Noth in 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure I can learn how to play Cradle of Filth in 3 weeks. Like, I'll be fine, no worries. Like, if you can do Veil of Noth in 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure you can learn anything in 3 weeks. Veil of Noth is fucking insanely tough to play. And so I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can do it. No big deal." And so I called my tour manager back for that Hypocrisy tour. I was like, "Yep, dude, I took it, man. But don't worry, I got another guy lined up for you to guitar tech for him." So that's how I got the Cradle Filth gig. Actually, was just literally just by knowing people.
Yeah,
That's literally it.
Yeah, and I remember seeing you on the Danzig tour back in May, and I thought that was a great show. I managed to meet you. I met the whole band as well, and you, Zoe, Danny, and the rest of the guys. That was a great show.
That was in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, it was that.
Yeah,
it's that newer venue called the Eastern. It's been around
yeah,
since last
yeah.
year.
Yeah, that was my first time playing the Eastern. Actually, it's actually a pretty good venue. I like it. We usually do with the Masquerade. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think that because I believe that was the first tour I saw you on. The first time I saw Aether on was the Unleash the Archers tour.
Oh yeah, we played the Masquerade. Oh man, that show was bad for me because like we in Aether Realm we always have monitors, and the monitor engineer accidentally flipped the aux outputs, so that basically I didn't have I didn't have anything in my monitor. It was just like nothing. I was like, I can't hear anything, dude. Like there's nothing here, and we don't have amps on stage. You know what I'm saying? So like if I don't have my guitar coming to the monitor, I can't hear my guitar at all. It was like the weirdest thing, and I kept telling like, "Can you fix this, please?" Never. So Aether Realm just uses monitors instead of in-ears. We're going to be using in-ears now, actually, but yeah, like you're at the without us traveling with a monitor engineer or something like that, we have to use the in-house guy, and he doesn't know ins and out. But this guy actually was hired, and he's used to doing like corporate gigs. So I don't think he's ever done monitors before, and he did a really bad job, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
you're fired.
That's okay though. No, I wouldn't have fired him. I mean, I yelled at him, and then I asked him. I was like, "Hey, what what?" I was like, "What mix am I? Am I mix 1, 2, or 3? Like, which aux output am I? Because like I can fix this problem for you, but I'm in the middle of playing a set, and this is in between songs." And he said, "I don't know." And I was like,
"Oh my god."
I was like, "Dude." It's like, well, all right. And I think that's caught on video of me just going like, "Fuck you," like that to him. And I just like go play my show. I'm like, God.
Wow.
I was mad. I don't really treat techs like that ever because I'm a tech myself. I'm usually very nice to every tech, every in-house guy I meet. But if you do not know what you're doing, I'm gonna make sure that you know that I'm aware that you do not know what you're doing. Because I know how to do all those things. I know how to run a board. I know how to run monitors. I know how to run front of house. I know how to guitar tech. I know how to build sets. I was like, I've done all that stuff, and I've done it on a high level also. So it's like, I don't expect you to be like the best, but I expect you to at least know like a basic thing. And that made me really mad. So like, I will let you know that I'm aware that you do not know what you're doing, and that I'm not going to tell anyone else, but I'll make you know that you should be doing better.
Right.
But I'm not gonna tell anyone to get anybody in trouble. I don't like doing that. It's like, nah, this is something between someone who knows where you're messing up, who wants to help you and tell you. But at the same time, sometimes people treat me, they're like, "Oh, this is the artist, this is no shit." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm actually a tech also." It's like, I probably know more than you do actually, because I'm a very good fucking tech. So it's, it's whatever.
Right. Of course, now you're playing with Cradle Filth. Is there like differences between playing with Aether Realm and Cradle Filth, or is there like, or like some of like differences or similarities?
There's more stuff on the rider. Yeah, we get more stuff in Cradle Filth on the rider. No, yeah, it's like in terms of like playing a show, not really, no. You know what I'm saying? Like stage presence is different, obviously, but the fact that I just go up and I play a show, that's the same thing, you know, obviously. But the main differences are that there's a lot more opportunity for me to run around and do things in Cradle of Filth because I don't have to play this like crazy technical riff all the time. Like in Aether Realm, it's like just technical riffs, not all the time, but a lot of the time. And it's like oh guys, like sometimes I have to like plant my foot on the monitor and just not move and play this riff because it's just too hard. Cradle Filth, there's like a lot more like, you know, ring the thing out. It's all more like that, or like, you know, just trem pick this. You call it drilling in black metal, I learned. I didn't know that. We always just said trem picking. It's called drilling, apparently, in the black metal world. I don't know. But
Never heard that saying.
yeah, that's what Ashok told me. He was like, oh yeah, drilling. I was like, drilling? He's like, yeah, you know, when you drill. I was like, what? I was like, I've never heard that before. Maybe that's a European thing. Maybe it's like maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like a European thing. I don't know.
Gotta love our boy Ashok.
So, yeah, like the way that music's written in Cradle Filth is completely different than Aether Realm. So that's a new thing that I've had to get used to. But performance-wise, it's just, you know, I just go up and I play guitar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, it's just the thing that I do. You know, it's the same thing if I go play blues or a jazz gig or a country gig or whatever. You know, it's just I just go up and I just play guitar. It's like that's it. I learn the set and I play guitar. Done. You know, move on. But yeah, that's how I see it. You know what I'm saying? To me, I'm like, this is just the thing that I do. It's like I have to go clock in and go to work, and sometimes I don't feel like doing it. I'm like, I don't want to play a show today, man. I want to sit it. I want to just play my Switch instead or something.
I gotta switch it up.
yeah, you know, but. I can't call out of work very easily, though. Yeah. If ever, actually, I don't think you can call out of work ever. You're like, yeah, all right, we're fired. We gotta find someone else if you can't do it.
Yeah. So, so it's kind of like wrapping things up. What's next on the horizon for like both Aether Realm and Cradle of Filth?
So Aether Realm, we have 2 songs that we are almost finished writing, and we're gonna kind of like do like little singles releases of these 2 songs. They don't really belong to anything. They're just 2 songs that just never made it on anything. They're not really old. They're kind of newer-ish, but and then we have an album that we are working on for Aether Realm also. It is a very big, tall order. It will probably be I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be as long as Tarot, because Tarot is like a ridiculously long album. It's like an hour 15. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, it's like I can't really spill the beans on this album because it's a big conceptual idea. I'll just say that much, okay?
Right.
With a massive story, and it's really cool. Jake came up with some really cool story ideas for it. I'm really excited about it. We have a song that we kind of like worked on. It's almost finished for that. I have some ideas for it also that I think is going to be amazing. It's going to be like a thing of cycles and stuff like that. It's going to be really cool. That is, I don't know when that's going to come out. We're still working on that. Cradle Filth, we're literally writing like madmen for the next album right now. So I'm spending a lot of my time working on that. There's going to be an Aether Realm tablature book coming out. We finally were able to get a hold of someone who can take care of this for us. That'll be for the album Tarot. There's no tabs out for that anywhere that I'm aware of. So Heinrich and I and our friend Chris painstakingly worked on transcribing this.
Oh, wow.
Chris actually did all the work.
Yeah.
Chris actually did all the work. I just going through and making sure that's the fingering I use, actually.
Right. And in terms of like tours with either of those bands, I know Cradle's playing that festival in Las Vegas. I'm just wondering if you all are like doing like tours like leading in between that.
Nothing that I know of, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that like there isn't tours being talked about. It's just nothing that I'm aware of right now.
Right.
Because it is kind of like stuff just gets moved around and shifted all the time so much now for some reason. I think it's still kind of like the residual effects of like the pandemic and stuff like that, you know, and touring's kind of still wrecked. I think it's gonna take like 2 or 3 years for it to kind of like, you know, kind of like find an equilibrium again. But right now it's kind of it's not all up in the air. It's just everyone's trying to tour at the same time right now, and that's becoming a logistical nightmare, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, too many tours all happening at once.
Yeah, man. There was like a show we played in Germany. It was like I think like every day of the week there was a band with like 3 other bands, and like it was all big bands that people want to go see. And you're like, oh man. And then also like there's the whole like energy crisis happening in Europe right now, where like everyone's wondering where they're gonna get their gas and stuff. Their electrical bill, their utility bills are just like through the roof. They're just sky high right now in costs. So like people can't really afford to go to shows. You know what I'm saying? Like so pre-sales are low because of that. Everyone's like, oh man, is this even gonna work out? And then like last minute people buy tickets, and so it's a massive gamble. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a so right now touring's kind of wrecked.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so as far as I know, there's another tour that I have confirmed with Aether. I will have to miss like a few days on it because there's an overlap with festivals that I have to play with Cradle Filth.
Right.
But yeah, so basically that's all I can say. But that'll be like, you know, summertime. There's an Aether tour in the summer that hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah. So, but anyway, thank you so much for taking your time to do this, man. I really appreciate it. So everybody, Donny Burbage from Aether and Cradle of Filth. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.